Hello. This video will be an overview of my wetsaw. And if you have no idea what a wetsaw is, this is a good video for you to watch. If you've never owned one, this is also a good video for you to watch, because I'll tell you some of the things that I like and don't like. This is a junk wetsaw. It's the cheapest one available, or at least it was, over a decade ago when I purchased it for something like $80. And just about everything original fell off or I threw away, and I've replaced it with things that over time I've found to be rather functional. So stick around and I'll show you some of the things that a wetsaw can be used for. If you're really just interested in the modifications that I've made to this saw, then you might want to skip to the second half, because for now I'm going to talk about materials. Naturally, a wetsaw can be used to cut ceramic tile, which has a wide range of application. Everything from borders and bathrooms and mosaics, which I'll do in another video someday. I've used my wetsaw to make wonderful mosaics. But also things similar to it. It can even cut granite, believe it or not. Ceramic tile is actually one of the harder things that you can cut. This sandstone, for example, it cuts like butter. It's unbelievably soft, which is why I was able to even make round coasters. When a material is as soft and easy to cut as the sandstone is, you're not really limited to making straight cuts through the material. You can make more dimensional cuts and then actually sculpt with it. Such is the case with marble. Marble cuts so nicely on the wetsaw that the traditional rules that you would apply to cutting something, say, on the table saw, just don't even apply. You can do round curves and anything that you can imagine with marble. And it has an incredible waxy sort of feel to it whenever it's sanded and polished. If marble has an opposite, it's granite. Granite is ridiculously hard. This is from an upcoming project that I'm going to probably release next week, which has everything to do with the wetsaw, which is why I'm making this video. But for the most part, all rocks and minerals are easily sculpted on the wetsaw. This is a piece of quartz, which is still pretty hard, but nowhere near granite. I used the wetsaw to knock off the high spots, and then after I smoothed it, I gave it a coat of lacquer. And then, of course, we have glass, which was the subject of my most recent video, and it is surprisingly easy to cut straight through it. In the video about cutting glass, I fed water to it by sticking a garden hose in there. And of course you don't have to do that, because quite frequently when it's cold here and I want to use this in the garage without making too much of a mess, I'll just feed water in with a little cup. It's really not that bad. The video made it look much more wet than it actually is, but that makes for good video. Unlike a table saw, there's no height adjustment on this, but it does have this wonderful feature. There are two star knobs on it. And this comes in more handy than you would think. You can't use the zero clearance plate though. I replaced all of the fasteners with stainless steel. Originally the saw came stock with one of those chintzy corrugated thin gauge steel top decks, but it quickly rusted out, so I replaced it with this 1/4 inch steel, or rather 1/4 inch aluminum, and wow, is that an improvement. This is much easier to clamp to, it's easier to carry, it dries off faster, it's easier to sweep dirt from. This is a wonderful improvement. I never did quite understand why manufacturers insist on putting unnecessary grooves and bumps and slots into a deck. Any deck should be flat. I understand the premise that reduced friction comes from corrugated decks, but they're just more problems than they're worth because they end up causing other hazards. To reduce the size of the throat plate, first I put in this rubber, and then this is polyethylene. And this keeps those little chips from getting lost in the cavity. Definitely recommend. This is the stock guard, if you want to call it a guard, because it really doesn't function much like a guard. Really what it does is keeps water from splashing all over the place and onto your face, because kickback or anything else that a guard might prevent on a table saw, just that doesn't apply here. Well, here is the improved splash guard that I made. I broke it twice during filming of the last video, and I fixed it with some epoxy, but it seems like it's pretty rigid now. It was shaped kind of like a necktie, a piece of acrylic, and then I heated it up with a heat gun and then put this kind of twist, 90-degree twist on it. And because of the fact that you can see through it, it just makes it so much better. Also, it's wider. It prevents more of the water from spraying at you. One of the strange things about the spray from this is that after the blade slows down, it starts to spit more water out. So when you turn the saw off, that's the part of the process that makes the most mess. And again with the polyethylene, this is just a piece of threaded rod. There's a rubber washer in between. The threaded rod is attached to a knob that causes it to smash nice and tight. But also, this is rubber, so as it tightens, it grabs a hold of the aluminum deck. Very easy to operate. As it tightens, the rubber grabs it with a very sturdy friction grip. Well, I hope you found some of this interesting, and I also hope that I've convinced you that a wet saw is indispensable. I mean, really, from cutting bricks to rocks to whatever you can imagine, this thing has just been unbelievably handy. You can make a lot of stuff with this. Okay, see you later.